Photos of a blood-stained forklift allegedly used by a jealous husband to move the body of a love rival have been released. Andrew Jones, 53, is accused of shooting father of three Mike Ollery, 55, with one of his 8 guns, before destroying his body in a series of fires. Swansea Crown Court heard Jones and learned Mr. Ollery was having an affair with his wife Rhianon, 51. Jones, who is also a father of 3, allegedly sent messages to Mr. Ollery from his wife's phone to lure him to the farm in Nantgaredig, Carmarthenshire on January the 27th. After allegedly shooting him, it was said Jones used a forklift truck to move Mr. Ollery's body from the secluded farm to the boot of his Audi A6. He is then said to have driven home and burned the body at a yard next to his home. Jurors were shown images of the forklift and its bloody blades, which an expert said was consistent with it coming into contact with Mr. Ollery's body. Forensic scientist Claire Morse said, "In my opinion, the presence of contact blood staining on the forks attributable to Mr. Ollery is what you would expect if this forklift has been in contact with a source of Mr. Ollery's wet blood. The presence of the blood on the underside of the fork would suggest the fork has been lifted at some point. In my opinion, the presence of blood staining is what could be expected if the forklift had been used to move or carry an individual or item that had been stained with Mr. Ollery's wet blood." Jurors also saw images of a rusty oil drum, which an expert for the prosecution said contained a small piece of human tissue which DNA testing confirmed belonged to Mr. Ollery. Forensic pathologist Dr Stephen Leadbeatter said tests of the tissue concluded it was from the small intestine. He told the court the piece of tissue was 16 centimeters by 4 centimeters in size and had scorch marks on it, indicating it had been burned. No body has ever been found. Prosecutors have also released a photo of a rugby shirt which has blood staining on the upper right sleeve. Police discovered in a washing basket at Jones' home a pair of jeans, which the defendant was said to be wearing at the time of his arrest, also had blood staining on them which has been identified as belonging to Mr. Ollery. The court heard Jones, who ran building and farming companies, dumped Mr. Ollery's car by a river to stage his disappearance, a suicide, before making his getaway on bicycle. Jones, of Bronwydd, Carmarthen, denies murder, saying Mr. Ollery died in an accident. The trial continues.